Hi, welcome to the Rally Education webinar series. We're really glad that you joined us today. I'd like to introduce Shelley Sakuja, our technology specialist. She's going to speak to you today about Laughs and Maths rehearsal.
Thank you, Margaret, and welcome everyone today to our webinar. And like Margaret mentioned, we are discussing the rehearsals online that we have in terms of the upcoming FSA assessment. They're called the Laughs rehearsals online and the Maths rehearsals online. We're going to learn a little bit about the different programs and what they look like. Who is Rally Education and how do we help schools and districts around Florida with the Florida standards? We do offer various resources, both print and online, when it comes to reading remediation or math intervention. We do have assessment instruction to help prepare students for the FSA. We do even have some dual language materials, and we have additional information that you can take a look at on our website. You can also reach out and connect with your local representative. We have Sylvia, Jeff, Matt, and myself, Shelley, and we all are here to answer any questions, provide samples, set up a meeting, whatever works best for you at your site. We're here to help you. The FSA is coming up shortly. It's just around the corner. But what's important to note is that Rally is here to help you. We know that in Florida, students take both kinds of tests. There's the computer-based as well as the paper-based. Luckily, we do have both options available for the various grade levels in elementary and middle school grades. We're going to share a little bit about what those programs look like. At the end, we'll even share how you can get a preview or a sample or even a meeting so you can learn more about each product. When it comes to the rehearsals online, we wanted to let you know that this is a simulation for the FSA. It's available both math and reading. We have it for grades 3 through 8, the print and the online, but in this case, we're talking about the rehearsals online. We have reports that identify exactly where that review and that reinforcement is needed. And students would log in, teachers would log in. It's a password protected website. We want to make sure that all your student information is secure. And there are 2 forms that we'll be discussing as well shortly that allow for any type of pre and post follow-up where you can identify with the result how they did when you first gave them Form 1 and then followed up with the Form 2 assessment. And you can look at those results as well and see how the students have progressed. And so we'll take a look at each of those items as we go through the program. Just real quick, I want to showcase some of the key features here. Because it's very similar to the way the FSA is set up, we have that same type of content, the format, the way the questions are set up, everything from drag and drop, multiple response. In some cases, there's a part A, a part B, where the questions have to be answered, even multi-step problems. Once the students complete that, those instant reports are generated, and they're even broken down by color, and of course individually by student. And we'll look at each of these features as well as those reports. And so, a little joke here, we want to show you what some of those questions look like and what those reports look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in right now, and we're going to take a look at the language arts rehearsal online. So let me just pause and let me log in, and we'll take a look at those features. So what I've done here is I've logged in to the Laughs reading rehearsal online. And what you'll notice is that we have some tools available for the students to use to easily navigate through the program. They have the ability to move between the different questions. They have the ability to flag a question. Maybe I need to come back to this particular item, number 16. I'm a little hesitant or unsure if I understood the question correctly, or that passage or something about it. If I'm working on this and for some reason I need to save or pause, I can do so. And when I do complete each of the different questions, and I make sure that I go back to anything that I have flagged or highlighted as some type of question I need to come back to. Once I've completed everything, I would be able to press finish, and I would be able to submit my results to my teacher or administrator. I also have the ability to zoom in if I need a better look at the passage or the questions. I can zoom out if maybe I need to. This helps me review a little bit better. I can see this question part A a little better in the screen. And if I had any help, I could access what each of the tools are and how I can use them. So these types of features are here for the students to use as they need. In this particular passage that I have opened up here, it tells me that there's the following questions compare from Anne of Green Gables and the Little Lord of Fauntleroy. And there's 2 different passages that I have access to. This happens to be a multi-part question. It's telling me answer a part A and then scroll down and answer part B. Now, this particular question is asking me which sentence from paragraph 6 and 7. If you notice, as I'm moving my mouse, each sentence is highlighted. So when I decide which sentence, where it shows that Anne doesn't understand something that's happening, once I select that sentence, then I can move on to part B and answer that about which sentence from paragraph 1 shows Cedric doesn't understand something that's happening, and so on. So I can progress through part A and part B. Once I have selected the sentences for each of those, I can go on to the next question. And here's a different passage, and here I would select what is the one way, and so on and so forth. And so we would go through each of the different questions and answer them to the best of our ability. In this case, you'll notice this is not a select. This is actually a type in. So I would go in and I would say the detail that supports, et cetera, et cetera. I would answer my question using the details from the text, and I would enter that into the text box. So you can see the various types of questions that are provided to the student, as well as the various passages that are included as well. So now that we've seen the way the LAFS reading rehearsal online is set up, we want to now take a look at the reports, because once your students have completed and pressed finish and it basically gets submitted, then we can look at the reports and see exactly what those results are for each of the students. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the LAFS rehearsal online program, and all of our students have gone in, they've answered each of the questions, they pressed finish, and their responses have been submitted to the teacher via these reports. And what we're looking at right now is the class report. You'll notice at the bottom there are a few different tabs, and we'll look at each of those tabs. But just to give you a nice overview, there is a color coding system that we've kind of provided for you to kind of help distinguish the various results here. So anything in red shows that the student is having minimal understanding. So for example, Freda is having minimal understanding under key ideas and details, specifically this standard. Brown would be limited understanding, and we can see that here. Green would be satisfactory understanding, and blue would be a very thorough understanding. So when we see blue, we see green, that's a good thing. Of course, our students can always do better, and we want to encourage them to do so. But when we do see red and brown, we do look at this, for example, with Frank, it's kind of alarming that there's a lot of red going on here in these various standards. And so I want to definitely work with this student and, of course, look at some of the other results, for example, with Ophelia, and so on. I can look at each of my students at a very individual level and provide that intervention and remediation exactly where and who needs it. And so these reports are very important, and we hope that the teachers and administrators use this to provide that type of intervention. And just so you know as well, there is a class average that's listed, so that gives you a nice general big picture as well. And then, because I had mentioned we have these tabs at the bottom, let's take a look. We do have literature. So again, the color coding and each student is listed. Informational for the other reading standards that are focused on, as well as the question types. Maybe students are having issues. For example, Lisa seems to be having issues when it comes to multiple choice. So this is how the question is being asked and how they're being asked to select the answers. So we have a nice broad picture here of not only by the standards, but by the question types as well. So we can really pinpoint and target who needs help and in which particular areas. What I had mentioned as I was going through the program is that we do have a Form 1 and a Form 2 available. So if you decide to do a Form 1, you can give the students that particular LAFS rehearsal online. They go through it, they answer the questions, they press finish, and we get our results. Then you do the intervention based on these results, and if you decide to use Form 2, you could almost use it as like a post-assessment and review those results and do a cross comparison between Form 1 results and Form 2 results, because in between you would have done some type of remediation with those students at that time. So we do have those two forms available. So now that we've taken a look at the LAFS rehearsal online, I want to take a moment and log on to the MAFS rehearsal online, which will focus on math. So welcome to MAFS rehearsal online. And what we're looking at here is our online program set up for the math assessment. Again, this is the computer-based program. The toolbar is similar to what we just saw in terms of the LAFS rehearsal online, which was for language arts. We have the ability to move forward or go back to a previous question. If we needed to flag a question and mark it so that we can know to come back to it at maybe later on as we go through the test, I can then come back to this question when I'm ready. I can save or pause when and where I need to. If I have to take a break or something while I'm working on my assessment. If I need to zoom in to see the question or the answers a little bit more clear or up close, or just being able to zoom out if I need to see it better this way from me. And what you'll notice here is that each of the questions are listed, and there's a variety of question types and the way that our students are being asked to answer the questions. And so we go through the different questions. This one is multiple choice. So in this particular question, it's an open-ended question, and the students would read the item up here where it's talking about the two fraction models, and then they're being asked, what do you know about the number of sections shaded in Model B, and to give that explanation. And so students would be able to come in here and there's 8 sections, and maybe they're dividing it by the 6, and then, timesing it by the 12, whatever the question is requiring them to do, and whatever their explanation is, they would provide that here in their text box. And as they go on through each of the different questions, there will be different types of answers that they need to provide, and they will go through each of them, and you can see there's various numbers of questions that we have available to these students. And so once they press finish, those results are then generated into a report. And let's take a look at what the report looks like for the MAFS online. Okay, so now what we have here is the MAFS Rehearsal Online report. And we're looking at the general report that is going to show us the various results by individual student. And you'll see that I'm scrolling up and down through the list. And similar to the report that we saw for the last rehearsal with the color coding, you'll notice that same type of color coding is used here as well. So for example, with Norman, he has a limited understanding on average, but minimal here in red, and then again, limited, satisfactory, and so on. And so we can keep an eye on these students, um, looking at each of their individual results and seeing exactly where those areas of concern lie and at what level they are at. And you'll notice here there's multiple tabs at the bottom, and it's broken down. This is ratios and proportional relationships. So we can look at, again, the general average, or we can look specifically by that student. There's Norman again, having some difficulty, and I can see exactly where he's strong and where he's weak. And I can use that information when I do provide that remediation with him. I can use this data, and it's data-driven instruction. So we look at the number system, that's also broken down, expressions and equations, geometry, statistics and probability. And then we look at the question types as well and how that's broken down by student, by average, and again with the different colors. In the MAFS online, as well in the LAFS online rehearsals, we do focus on keeping our program as similar in content, similar passages, similar question types, so that your students are answering the different questions or responding to the different problems and passages as similar to the actual FSA as possible. The reports are ready to be generated. Teachers and administrators can identify those areas of weakness and focus on providing that instruction. And similar to the LAFs, we also have the Form 1 and Form 2 available so that teachers can provide maybe Form 1 and students answer those questions, respond to those math problems. We get the results. They then do the instruction and remediation necessary. And then we do Form 2 and get those results and cross-compare to what they just did in Form 1. And after the remediation that we've provided, now how are those students doing? And are there still areas of concern? And hopefully we've seen progression and improvement along the way. So I have talked a little bit about the online programs, but I do want to showcase a little bit about what we have available for print. So I mentioned that we have rehearsals in print as well. And with the print materials, we do have the 2 assessments available per booklet. So those are there for students to take a paper-based FSA simulation. We do have these both for language arts and for math, grades 3 through 8. There would be the teacher keys available to the teachers and administrators, the various question types such as multiple choice or open-ended questions. And there is even a whiteboard component to have up on the board or interactive whiteboard for students and teachers to use that way as well. And so we do want to make sure that you are aware not only of the online program, but of the print resources we have available too. And what does the print look like? Well, here's a little screenshot of what the passages on the print resources look like, where again, we're matching the content, the format, the question types that students would see, in this case, the paper-based FSA. So again, multiple choice that are very complex, open-ended questions. when it comes to the maths rehearsal or for math, we have the ability to take a look at the different questions that are being asked. We can work with the students, provide that instruction if we notice that they're struggling in certain types of questions or certain problems that are being asked. And so why do they work? Well, again, we have 2 practice tests. You can use them for any type of pre-test or post-test, being able to diagnose those areas of concern or areas of strengths, and using it as an instructional tool to really focus on the different problems, the different question types, the content, because it does mirror the FSA. And we can definitely provide any kind of samples or even a preview for the online program as well. You can feel free to jot down this contact information. All of our names are listed there, again, for the folks that are Team Florida. You can reach us via phone or via email, whatever's convenient for you. We're here to help provide any samples you may need for some of the print resources I shared today, like the Laughs and Maths rehearsals. Or if you wanted a preview of the Laughs and Maths rehearsals online that we were looking at as well, we can set you up or any of your colleagues or staff members, and they'll be able to really go in, explore the program in detail, take a look at how the questions are set up, the ease of flow, and those features and functions that are available. And we're happy to answer any questions, set up a meeting, set up a call, whatever works best for you at your convenience. And again, feel free to take a look at our website for more information. Give us a call and reach out with any questions, and we're happy to help you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Hope to see you again real soon on another webinar. Thank you.